Jesus reveals the objects Archons fear most for centuries. One teaching attributed to Jesus was deliberately hidden, removed, and erased wherever it appeared, not because it contradicted faith, but because it gave people direct access to protection the institutions could no longer control. In ancient Gnostic records, especially fragments linked to the Gospel of Philip, Jesus spoke privately to his inner circle about physical objects that carried divine frequency. These were not symbols, rituals, or prayers meant to be repeated endlessly. They were tangible tools, created by human hands, capable of broadcasting a spiritual resonance so precise that archonic entities could not remain in its presence. According to these texts, when the powers encountered these objects, they withdrew immediately, not gradually, but instantly, because they recognized something originating from above material reality. Early Christian mystics guarded this knowledge carefully, passing it teacher to student, often disguising it in plain sight. Those who carried these objects reported the same outcome again and again. Mental oppression ceased, spiritual fatigue vanished, and intrusive thoughts lost their grip. The shift was immediate. The Church understood the danger of this knowledge. If believers realized protection was accessible through simple physical means, there would be no need for intermediaries, no dependence on elaborate systems of spiritual authority. That is why references were stripped away, reframed as metaphor, or buried under doctrine. Tonight, this teaching is brought back into the light. You will learn what these sacred objects are, why they function at a frequency Archons cannot penetrate, and which one aligns with what you are experiencing right now. This is not belief. It is recognition, and once recognized, the manipulation loses its power. Lapis lazuli appears in nearly every ancient mystery tradition for a reason. Long before modern religion reshaped spiritual language, this stone was known as a conduit of higher perception. The Egyptians called it the stone of heaven, while the Sumerians revered it as the stone of the gods. In Gnostic texts, when divine consciousness was said to enter humanity, it was described as descending like a sapphire flame into the crown. This was never meant as poetry alone. The initiates understood that certain minerals naturally hold frequencies aligned with higher awareness. When lapis lazuli is carried close to the body, it resonates with the human energy centers most often targeted by archonic interference. The third eye and the crown. These centers govern perception beyond the physical senses. When blocked, awareness remains confined to material reality. Lapis lazuli emits a measurable electromagnetic frequency, one that mirrors the pineal gland's optimal state. Before interference and calcification occur. When worn or carried, the body responds, not because it is being healed, but because it is being reminded of its original resonance. Those who begin carrying lapis often report subtle yet undeniable changes. Heightened intuition, vivid dreams, meaningful coincidences, and an increased sensitivity to unseen influences. This is not imagination awakening, it is perception returning. Archons rely on remaining unseen. The moment you can recognize intrusive thoughts, energetic cords, or unnatural emotional shifts as external influence, their primary advantage dissolves. Lapis lazuli does not fight darkness, it reveals Italiano, and what is revealed can no longer dominate. Over time, the stone trains perception itself, allowing awareness to remain open, even when it is no longer worn. This is why ancient initiates never treated lapis as decoration. It was carried daily, constantly, as a tool of remembrance. The second object is far simpler, yet far more threatening to archonic systems of control. It is a name written by your own hand. Not spoken, not printed. Written. In Gnostic tradition, names were not labels, but containers of frequency. A spoken word fades. A written word remains. When ink meets paper with intention, it anchors vibration into matter. In suppressed passages of the Gospel of Philip, it is said that certain names cause the powers to flee when they are known and expressed correctly. This was never about pronunciation. It was about alignment. The name taught to initiates was not a personal name, but a declaration of identity. I am monad. These words, written together, form a seal. I am represents pure existence, awareness acknowledging itself. Monad refers to the source consciousness from which all reality emerges. When written by your own hand, this phrase becomes a frequency anchor that broadcasts continuously from the physical object itself. The process matters. Clean paper, ink, not pencil. Each stroke written slowly, with awareness. Once written, the paper is folded 3 times, sealing recognition, connection, and protection. Those who carry this written name report immediate mental clarity. Confusion lifts. Doubt dissolves. The constant inner noise quiets. This happens because archonic interference operates through distortion and hesitation. When your identity is anchored physically, that distortion cannot stabilize. Even manipulation through other people diminishes, as the frequency being broadcast makes you energetically inaccessible. Early mystics carried written names, sewn into garments or worn in small pouches. They understood written language creates standing electromagnetic waves, and certain phrases hold authority non-physical entities must acknowledge. This is not defense, it is declaration. The third object is drawn, not carried. Its power extends beyond the individual into the environment itself. Jesus taught that divine truth enters the world through images and forms, because frequency requires structure to exist in matter. Geometry is that structure. The symbol passed down among Gnostic initiates was known as the monad circle, a simple circle with a single point at its center. The circle represents infinite consciousness. The point represents the individual spark within it. When drawn intentionally by your own hand, this symbol becomes a stable frequency anchor. The act of drawing is itself a declaration of recognition. The individual and the infinite are not separate. Once placed in a living space, the symbol broadcasts this unity continuously. Archonic entities function by sustaining separation. In the presence of this pattern, they cannot maintain coherence. Rooms that once felt heavy become calm. Sleep deepens. Mental unrest fades. This is not cleansing through effort. It is displacement through resonance. The symbol does not repel. It stabilizes a frequency incompatible with manipulation. Ancient communities marked their spaces with sacred geometry for this reason. When authorities destroyed these communities, symbols were the first things erased, because as long as they remained, the space itself was protected. Drawing this symbol tonight and placing it near where you sleep or meditate establishes a sanctuary. It does not require belief. It requires recognition. The removal of these teachings was not accidental. Direct access to protection eliminates dependence. When people no longer require intermediaries to defend themselves spiritually, systems built on fear collapse. Physical objects that hold divine frequency cannot be regulated through hierarchy. That is why these teachings were reframed as allegory, dismissed as metaphor, or labeled heretical, yet the knowledge survived, preserved quietly by those who understood its function. These objects are not relics of superstition. They are tools. Stone, ink, paper, and form. Simple, accessible, undeniable. The moment they are used, the effect is felt, not gradually, immediately. Each object addresses a specific form of interference. When perception feels blocked and intuition muted, lapis lazuli restores vision. When the mind feels clouded and decisions feel impossible, the written name restores clarity. When a living space feels oppressive or restless, the drawn symbol restores harmony. You do not need all 3 at once. Begin with the one that reflects your current experience. Use it tonight. Observe what shifts. Recognition is not belief. It is remembrance. These sacred objects were never meant to be hidden forever. They were meant to be rediscovered. When humanity was ready to reclaim direct authority over its spiritual state, if you are carrying or using sacred protection tonight, declare it. Comment Archons. Fear this below. Subscribe for deeper teachings that expand on these ancient technologies. Like this video so others can find what was nearly erased. Take action now. And tonight, choose one object. Use it. Feel the difference. When frequency shifts, oppression cannot remain. Jesus revealed teachings that were deliberately removed from history about physical objects that carry divine frequency and block archonic influence instantly. In this video, you'll discover the 3 sacred tools passed secretly among early initiates. Which they work, and which one aligns with what you're experiencing right now. This is not ritual. It is recognition made physical. Subscribe for deeper revelations. Like to help others find this knowledge. Comment Archons fear this to declare your protection.